Hi, this is Carl. Welcome to another SMB Community Podcast, and I'm joined today by someone you may recognize, Mr. Harry Brelsford. Thank you, sir, for being with us.
Always a pleasure. Happy Cinco de Mayo, my friend.
Yes, we're recording this on Cinco de Mayo, so we need to finish up so we can go off to the Margaritaville. So, Harry, you have a new project, but first let's back up a tiny bit and introduce you to people who may not have heard of you, which seems impossible, but in fact, there are people who don't know who you are. So give us 30 seconds of your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So SMB Nation is a community, and it's very similar in excitement and the way the Macintosh community was, I'm going to say in the 80s and 90s and beyond, real enthusiast. And along that journey, we probably, Carl, adopted the SIC code of publisher or media company because we started blogging and training and doing events and so on. We're changing. Everyone's changing. We're changing. I'll get to that. But suffice it to say, an 18-year-old community that has a lot of enthusiasm about SMB technology, primarily MSPs, partners, consultants, resellers. Am I forgetting an acronym, Carl? That's who we are.
Very good. So you have a new project going, and we're going to put the link down below here, but it's basically smbnation.com/pivot. So
Yep.
What is Pivot, and what are you up to?
Yeah, so here's the deal. Hopefully, all of us are continuously reinventing ourselves, right? We're in technology. We're clearly at one of those times. We've certainly had that talk, server to cloud, all of that. I went a slightly different direction and started to invest and get my head into analytics because I believe marketing is now analytics. That's a whole nother speech about we honor the 5 Ps of marketing, but I'm really increasingly viewing marketing as analytics. And what you're seeing is publishers, traditional old school publishers. First of all, that sector is not the healthiest sector, the media sector. So they're reinventing themselves. And the one thing they're very, very good at is using some of the content tools, some of the analytics tools. They've been doing it forever, right? With web ads and that kind of thing. And so now they're bringing that to customers and helping customers create custom audiences. And we resemble that. And so we feel we're both uniquely qualified as a publisher, and then my own role helping a Seattle big data startup for 22 months that I recently exited. So that's the high level. And the initiative is called Pivot. I think it's appropriate. We're pivoting, and you're pivoting. We're all pivoting, and trying to bring marketing as a service to MSPs, partners, and beyond to help them create more business via leads. And the leads would, of course, convert to customers.
Right. So marketing as a service, MAS, I guess. So one of the things I always think about, especially in the small business space, is everybody says, oh, man, I want to try this. I want to try it, but I need a quick turnaround. Is this something where somebody's going to be able to push a button and out comes a customer?
No, I don't sell that, Carl. Where we're entering the market, we're entering the market in a few different ways. So first of all, I've worked hard, and the staff has worked hard to build trust with our community, and we're not going to violate that trust. And with trust comes transparency, right? And I have now done a big data startup. I've been a publisher. This ain't my first rodeo,
right.
And this takes time. The difference is we're being very, very smart about how we're doing it. And so I would offer there's 2 elements. The first is to nurture your existing customers consistently, and that's our baseline service, is that we're going to do the work that you will not, cannot, or should not do as an MSP to have that ongoing marketing message. Because, Carl, your existing customer is your best customer, right? When they order additional work, it's your cheapest customer in terms of acquisition. And then what we weave into the fabric would then be the procurement of new customers and lead generation And that takes time. But, Carl, I'll tell you, 18 years later, it works. Now, we're going to do it faster than 18 years.
Yeah, I've got 18 years.
But
so when you say existing customers, most marketing in this space, at least the people who are selling marketing services, tend to be on, hey, let's go take over your Facebook and get you some new customers. You're talking about actually marketing to your existing customers as a starting place?
As a starting place and beyond. But first, we have to preserve your existing customers, right? And they need a love tap or a hug every month to know that you're there. Hey, monthly ping, I'm here. And that has to be a new level of sophistication, that conversation. So, Carl, if you can imagine, and by the way, we're using open architecture. That's the other thing. I want to get that elephant right out of the room, that we're not a black box. We're using open architecture because it may well be that the day comes our services aren't needed and they can take them in-house. So let's just take MailChimp. MailChimp does a fantastic job, and a lot of people aren't doing it with their email communications and newsletter on the A/B testing in the election cycle. So you can set a 4-hour election with 2 different headlines. Let's call one headline fake news, the other headline real news. And over time, we are going to learn your customers base, right? The existing customers. We're going to learn what they're responding to, what they're not. And so first, we're going to, keep everybody on the ranch in between the barbed wire, the fenced off area. Then we're going to use a variety of tactics, of course, to go generate new leads and new customers. And they go hand in hand. I mean, the content that you would be sharing is also attraction marketing to bring in new customers, right?
Very cool. So you're going to send out an email that has half the customers are going to see one headline and half are going to see another headline, and then you'll see which one people open more, which one they engage more.
That's right.
Very.
That's right. Speaking for myself, this is a funny story that I don't mind sharing because we do this at SMB Nation as you would hope, right, in our publisher role. If I have a headline where I still have my name in the headline is trying the good old-fashioned community chat. That lately has actually been scoring lower than what I would call a more secular headline. And Carl, the data doesn't lie, and it may well be the times have changed. I think maybe leading with Harry made a lot of sense in the late 90s and early 2000s and the SBS thing. The audience has changed, right? Hopefully we're updating our algorithms. That's what I'm really getting at. I hope we are.
Right, exactly.
And the topics are changing. The way people want to interact with us is changing. No hard feelings. It's really cool to at least have that data. And Carl, what I would add is part of the nurturing leading into lead generation. We initially use about 10 tactics. Okay, so it's forms, progressive forms. It's the newsletters, the blogs, the LinkedIn entries, both your status and a group you should create for your company. Same with Facebook. And then we use Hootsuite, which is a really underestimated dashboard for everything social. It's a beautiful thing. And so that's how not only can you interact with Twitter, but now we're talking Instagram and other tactics that are out there. Finally, throw on surveys. Very important to think about SurveyMonkey and get feedback from your customer, right? And a lot of people are doing that. That's kind of the baseline from which we can then move forward. And again, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So what's interesting is you've, in the past, you've done the business training and that sort of thing. And I helped you and participated in some of that.
Oh, yeah.
And, the Pocket MBA stuff. Your business, your love for the business side of things leads you to create a product where you sort of say, all right, first let's go step by step and let's make the customers love us so that they will buy. And that's not something a lot of people do. A lot of people, when they sell marketing in this sector, what they tend to do is focus on the tools. Like, man, we will totally master SEO. We will take over your Twitter feed, and it's all about the tools. And you're like, no,
Yeah.
forget the tools. The tools are important at some level, but pick any tool. It's how you use it strategically that's going to make a difference.
Yeah, I mean, I would translate that observation this way, that here's the difference between business development and sales. Okay, so with sales is very transactional, and that lends itself very well to just using power tools. And don't get me wrong, we use power tools, and I hope I've mastered it as a publisher over 18 years plus my time in big data. So tools are cool. Okay, let's put tools over here for a second. Business development is the art of relationships, right, and trust. And so again, full disclosure, after this podcast, I'm headed into Seattle to join a bunch of friends down in the Amazon area for a couple of margaritas. Carl, that's going to be a 5-hour round trip, right? The ferry, the this, the that. I'm happy to do it. It's relationships. It just works over time. And that's what we really want to help with our clients, the MSPs and partners, understand that. And then let's go grab those tools back and bring them back over here. And then I can go on for days about the tools and the analytics and the measurements, but I don't want to. I don't need to. The tools are they're tools to help implement tactics. And Carl, I'll end on this before I lose my breath, is that the dashboard, the interface we have with our clients, the MSP, who's then talking to their clients, very simple dashboard. Red light, yellow light, green light, EIS, right? Executive Information System. Green light, no problem. Red light, call Harry. And a lot of solutions out there are very sophisticated dashboards. That's my job, right? That's not the MSP's job to get their head into that.
Right. So what would I be buying? So am I buying newsletters? Am I buying, because when you say everything, that's kind of a big word. So what pieces am I actually buying in this?
Sure. Yeah, and I'll tell you what the value prop is too, as I explain what our offer is. Okay, so first of all, today we're in beta. Okay, we're going to go broad in July. At this point, planning a broad launch at the Microsoft WPC conference, or now called Inspire. The artist formerly known as Prince. Right. And in beta, we're getting some great feedback from people you and I both know, right? And it's brutal feedback. Today, what we have is a tiered program, so the proverbial bronze, silver, gold. Bronze would be 10 tactics starting at $300 a month. I've kind of rattled those off, and I'm happy to, if people go to /pivot at SMB Nation, they can start to get a little more information on that, and we can have a chat. You get up to gold, and it's basically a fractional CMO position. And here's our value proposition. Again, if we want to get caught up in the tactics, each level we do more, right? If that makes sense. So we start to weave in webinars, and the webinar reports are amazing now. And people aren't using the webinar reports post-webinar for lead scoring. They're amazing. We do. But think about it this way. So if you start at $300 a month, I've had a couple of beta customers come back and they view it as labor arbitrage. So they're saying, yes, I can use your open tools, right? Clearly, I can have MailChimp, SurveyMonkey, Hootsuite, on and on and on. Yes, you can. You can absolutely do that. Can't do it for $300 a month, and I'm not sure it's a good use of your time when your time is really valued at, let's just say, $150 an hour. That's what we do. We have a lot of expertise in this area and understanding and can interpret the data. We're offering, it's a little bit of an outsourcing model. And when you think of an outsourcing model, you're talking labor arbitrage, right? That we can use a lower cost but qualified resource to do this work for you. And then more importantly, Carl, we do it consistently. The trains run on time. Jenny Hallmark has her stamp of approval on this. So, the trains run on time and it will get done. And then if you go up to the fractional CMO, that conversation starts at $3,000 a month. And I don't want that to scare people, but to hire that person in Seattle, I mean, that really goes to the next level in our community. That's $100,000, Carl.
Exactly. Well, and
that's a thinking person, Carl.
I always think in terms of how many clients does it take to pay for this, right? So if you get one new client a month, they're like, hey, no problem, right? And certainly larger MSPs that have got 40 technicians, they need more than one client a month. So they're already spending this money somewhere. So here's a question. So I've used some of those tools. I use Hootsuite, for example. Are you just doing this, or for $300 a month, would I also be able to say, show me what you're doing because I don't understand it?
Happy. Again, we're a transparent and open community. I'm happy to even do a webinar on how we do it. Think of it this way. You and I have written books, and I would be thrilled to do a webinar where people watched me type pages on SQL Server, right? I mean, so you want to see SQL Server? Cool. Really? You want to sit there and watch me type and have SQL on another screen running? It's no mystery. It's more that, Carl, think of it this way. First of all, yes, transparency, because we know it's a challenge for our customers, the MSP and partners, to consistently do this over 18 years.
Right.
They can do it for a month. They might do it for 6 weeks, and then it just kind of starts to fall off. But what I would tell you is we have two paradigms or mission statements. Number one, simple is hard. And number two, we are a verb. Okay. So let's start with number one. If I learned anything at that predictive analytics startup in Lower Queen Anne by the Space Needle, every day we had to fight complexity every single day, because there was a tendency, a 10-person company, 2 data scientists, a developer. There's a tendency and the dashboards were our enemy because there was a tendency to say, well, can we just do this? Or can we just do that? Or can you add this donut chart? No. N-O. Analytics lends itself to complexity, and you have to fight it every single day to stay focused. And so that's simple as hard. And then, and we bring that expertise, and you're going to pay for that expertise. Thank you. The other one is we are a verb. And so as we looked over the landscape and what our particular fit will be, and you could argue a fairly crowded market. There's 2 ways to look at marketing as a service. It's crowded, or as IBM likes to say, we're only 1% of the way there. It's actually a new era, okay?
That's true.
We choose to think we're 1% of the way there. But we are a verb. And so what we're seeing in the competitive landscape is there are some fantastic kits that you can buy. There are some fantastic solutions you can buy, but you have to do the work. I mean, Carl, if you MailChimp and Hootsuite, they don't do it on their own. Okay,
right. Yeah, I mean, actually, yes, you buy MailChimp, and what have you bought? The right to use their tool. But no emails go out, nothing magic happens, you don't get a newsletter. So you help folks put together this stuff. So we talked a little bit about the analytics. Where exactly does analytics come in? Is this when I say, I need to find somebody who looks like my top 10 ideal customers? You help me do that?
Yeah. And that would be at a higher package level. Think of it this way: at $300 a month, we're all business people, and at $300 a month for us to make money, for you to make money, it's a formula, right? Mm-hmm. As you would expect. We use 10 tools, we use them in a formula type process, and it just gets done, and it just works over time. you get up into the higher level of a fractional CMO, and then you're talking about custom audience development. And so then that brings up the concept of targeting and retargeting. And it comes, that's where I can introduce some of my newfound skills in terms of lookalikes or nearest next door neighbor. And I'll give you a really easy example. A friend of mine, Joe in Denver, I believe you know Joe. He is an MSP, and he is niched on veterinarians. Very, very smart.
Right.
Healthcare without humans, as he likes to say. And boy, howdy, they have money, because there's nothing like you don't need to talk about what's going on in Washington, D.C. That doesn't apply to dogs and cats. That's cash.
Yeah. Well, and you spend all kinds of money for your pets. So.
Oh, ridiculous. And people certainly don't view them as livestock. They think they're a family member. But that's lookalikes. If you go to LinkedIn, you say, I want veterinarians. Great. I have one veterinarian client. Even better. Let's go to LinkedIn. Let's look at him. Carl is a veterinarian. Carl, what's over on the right side? Other veterinarians, right? People who are related to this person. And then better yet, if you go to his friends list and he exposes his friends list, he's going to have other veterinarian friends. So that's lookalike. Now, that's a very simple example, because we can use, at the highest levels, we can use predictive analytics to say, what does that look like? Be it income, zip code, basically, customer-facing data. Carl, I better stop. Don't get me going. Okay?
So that's pretty cool. So if you were to look at the other people in this industry who are trying to sell marketing to IT service providers, what really makes you stand out? Right? I mean, just the word analytics sounds great. Where the rubber meets the road, what's the absolute real difference that makes your pivot a little bit different?
Sure. So a couple of things. One would be, first of all, analytics. Our early feedback is analytics is an evil word in our community. And I'm hearing that.
Really?
I'm not making that up. Yeah, that people are saying that's a scary word for the small business owner and the MSP. So I said, okay, great. I'll call it magic. Okay. So from here on and forthwith, it's officially known as magic.
Nice.
We lead with math. We lead with the overused phrase, but I feel very strongly about it, the trusted business advisor paradigm. Okay. And there's, if you don't mind, I'll take a couple minutes to explain that. We've talked about analytics and math. Fine. That's a unique value proposition for us, we believe. Another one would be the business conversation. Sherry, the eye doctor on Bainbridge Island, is served by an MSP named John. And you've actually met John. He's a friend of Grant's. You trust me. And Sherry is my eye doctor, probably a 10-person clinic, heavy on technology, of course. And she will not open a newsletter that has a headline from John about ransomware or backup and disaster recovery or what have you. Instead, the content that we're syndicating and curating, and yours truly is typing, is business speak. And so Sherry is going to be more interested in a headline that says 7 ways to create an inspiring workplace. And the reason is Sherry has had turnover, right? I've been going for years. She has a little bit of turnover. Turnover is expensive. Why would an MSP and computer guy enter that conversation? Well, turnover is expensive, right? You got to bring the computer guy in to do a redo. Number 2, the IT spend is shifting over to marketing, accounting, finance, and operations out of the server room, out of the IT room. And this was really fortified. We're helping Concur right now. We're doing a little bit of work with Concur and their partner program. And I was like, Concur partners, why would an MSP advocate travel and expense management software? And the gentleman said, very simple, Harry. it's a door opener. It gets you down the hall to talk to accounting and operations and marketing and so on. Carl, the best example, the better business speak example would be data visualization, so Tableau, or a little closer to home, Power BI, right? That spend is coming out of marketing. That's not coming out of the IT department. That's marketing laying down their credit card.
Well, we've kind of reached the point where the technology is almost invisible. I mean, if you have your email in the cloud and your storage in the cloud and your backup in the cloud and your antivirus and spam filtering, right? There's literally nothing for us to go on site and touch. The server has disappeared. So the technology has become like the telephone, that it just works. And so there's not really anything for Carl to do, right? So with the client, you need to help them say, all right, how can we help you get the technology to work for you? And so it's a technology discussion, but it's not about technology. It's about marketing, or it's about business, in order to then move to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. And, everyone on this call, that's you and me.
The cat might be.
But everyone on this call, I'm preaching to the choir, but the whole business services delivery is I feel pretty strongly that's where it's going, because I'm not having a conversation with the developer audience, right? And I can assure you, across the bay, developers are rock stars. They get all the attention when they walk into the bars. Little old me, there I'm sitting by my lonesome, okay? Developers are the new. That's not my audience. That's not my conversation, right? We're sticking with what we know, and so we feel pretty good about that. That makes sense,
right? What would you say is the most valuable thing that you offer that people are not doing themselves? Is it the newsletter? Is it the advertising, the SEO? What's the one thing that really stands out for you?
Yeah. So the one thing would be, I'm going to put the word trust out there, trust relationship, like from the old domain days. And certainly a two-way trust relationship. Okay. and here's what I mean. We've had a gentleman join our team, Tim Carlson, who exited a social analytics firm, called Blab. Okay, blabpredicts.com. He exited them about the same time I exited Lead Scores. So let me frame it up. I was over in predictive analytics. Tim was in social analytics. Think of it as the medical profession. I'm a cardiologist. He's an oncologist. It's a huge field. And what that did between us is it brings a lot of expertise. And so we're selling trust, that you're trusting us with our expertise, and we have kind of filtered through the 200, 300, 400 tools that are out there in the social media Lumascape. You've seen that poster before, where it's overwhelming. And we're saying this tool, that tool, this tool, that tool, all open tools. And you're trusting us with our expertise to use the tool and the judgment we have that these are the right tools. Because, Carl, many of the listeners to this podcast, you don't want to go there.
Right. Well,
if you go there, you're not an MSP anymore.
When you look at the tools, the thing that people get overwhelmed with is, I need to spend, let's just say, an hour a week on Facebook, an hour a week on LinkedIn, an hour a week on Hootsuite.
Yeah.
Tick, 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 tick. You got 10 tools in your toolbox. That is 25% of my week just on marketing, just on trying to keep the message flowing so that I don't disappear in my client's eyes.
Yeah. And let me continue to answer your question about what makes us unique in a marketplace with, again, for the sake of argument, 24 friendly competitors. Here's what's cool, is that every one of the marketing as a service solutions offered in our space, everybody has a slightly different twist, okay? And I think it's cool that it's a little bit like the marketing and advertising agency world. When firms hire an ad agency, They're going to interview some firms in Portland because of, that community boomed after that one firm took Nike to the next level with Just Do It.
Right.
All of a sudden, they had a whole neighborhood of ad agencies, right? The rest is history. Seattle's got some ad agencies. Carl, if you've ever been there, give you a really good example. The big data startup I was involved in, we hired the agency that was behind Corbis, the photo service, and Getty. So maybe you've heard of Getty and Corbis, right? That's the one they hung their hat on. That was their Nike tennis shoes. We interviewed, good Lord, man. I mean, ridiculous. These were long interviews too, but half a dozen agencies came in and gave their pitch, and they're all handsome people and young and energetic, and
it was like Mad Men, right? Those kinds of presentations.
Yeah, and Carl, they were all just a little different. You know what I mean? And that's what I would offer. Is it's a green field, it's a blue ocean. If anything comes out of this podcast, look at the alternatives out there. We just want to be part of the conversation. We're hanging our hat on math, business speak, and trust.
Excellent. Okay. So we're basically out of time, but I need an action step. So can people get on your list today? Can they test drive it?
Yeah.
Do they have to wait till July? What's the status of that?
Yeah. No, we're an open beta because we're going to build this thing. You got to remember, this is different for us from going from a accredited media organization, a publisher, to a product company. That's a very different paradigm. So it's an open beta. So there's two ways to get involved. One is just call me. My phone's right here. Direct dial 206-201-2944. I'll repeat that, as you should always do on a voicemail. The other thing is SMB Nation. There you go. smbnation.com/pivot. And lo and behold, we have a link to a form. And that's a whole nother podcast to talk about responsive and progressive forms. And forms are the end-all be-all because that is the conversion event. I'll leave it at that.
Very good. All right. Well, thank you for your time. And you and I are going to have to catch up and do another quarterly webinar on business stuff. But in the meantime, Good luck with the new adventure. And I hope that some folks sign up and take a look at it.
All right. I'm off to Cinco de Mayo, man.
All righty.